What a joy that you have found us for this podcast. How exciting it is to think that this spiritual message is going out to people around this planet. Whether your life is working at a peak level or whether it can use some enhancement, have I got the message for you today. So get a piece of paper, get ready to take notes, call a friend, have them watch this podcast also. Then you too can have something to talk about and take it to a deeper level. So enjoy. Here we go. Hey, good morning, Seaside. Woo! What a joy it is to be here with you on a fabulous day, a Father's Day. And Father's Day, I liked something that Mark Twain said. He said, when I was a boy of 14 years old, my father was so ignorant I couldn't stand being around him. And then when I became 21, I was astonished at how much he had learned in those 7 years. So, yeah. In the Bible, in Exodus, it says, not he who begot, but he who raises is the real father. Thought that was good. Linda McNamara, she is just a beloved teacher in the movement of religious science, kind of like a godmother to the ministers in a sense. And she wrote something that came across the internet this week about fathers. She said that today is for the fathers, both the elder and the younger. It is for the grandfathers, the uncles, the brothers, the friends, and the sons. And for most important man in anyone's life, the one who gave us life. Here's to you, the dads who play endless games of go fish with their kids and always let them win. And those who always play to win every time thinking that their children would grow strong through defeat. This is for the fathers who work in the fields and the factories, taught in the classrooms, or sat in office cubicles 8 or 9 long hours a day. Here to those who performed life-saving surgery and those who drove their trucks through long days and night. Here's to those who loved every minute of their labor and to those who only worked so their families could survive. To the sleepless dads who have waited in the silent fear that their babies wouldn't make it through the night or their teenagers survived their first time driving alone. Those who lost children and those who found them in different ways. Here's to tears not shed and hugs not given for fear of appearing weak. Here's to Dad who built with a hammer and a saw, and those who wouldn't know how, and the fathers who are afraid of spiders, and yet can slay the great dragons of fears in their little ones. The fathers who tried and those who didn't, the fathers who gave us life and walked away, and those who stayed long past the life of their marriage to give something to their children. The fathers who hurt because their children have kept them from them, and those who are both father and mother. Stay-at-home dads, stay-away dads, and the ones we wanted but never quite had. The helpless, hurting father, and the brave, strong ones. For all the ways of fatherhood, here's to you, Dad. That was very nice. Those dads, there's something special about those dads. You know, that father energy is that one that is able to see the wholeness of your being. You know, that father-mother guy, you know, using the metaphor today of God as father just because it works. But, you know, that father, that whole expression, that God that sees the whole picture, sees you for who you are, sees the truth of who you are, and isn't caught up in your shortfalls, doesn't see your challenges. That spirit, that divine presence, that Father expression, that wisdom from the wholeness of your being that sees you as a champion, that sees you as a success, that sees you as fully capable, that part that sees you, that part of you that senses that you could do it. Whatever that something is, that senses that you are capable. You know that there's something inside of you that knows you are capable and you're able, and yet in some areas you've just fallen back. And just looking for that little bit of encouragement. That it's something inside of you that senses that, you know, there is more for you to do, no matter what age you are in your particular life, but you just haven't quite said yes to it. Now, that's not an unusual thing. You know, there's a story of a guy, Gideon, you know, that biblical character, a guy who did not think very highly of himself, who didn't think that he was a capable individual. When the angel came to him and said that the Lord is upon you, you mighty man of valor and fearless courage. And he said, who, me? Mighty man of valor? I don't think so. You got the wrong guy here, he said. And the angel said, yeah, God has chosen you to help free the people of Israel from the Mennonites, who are this vicious pagan kind of guys who have taken over your land. And Gideon says, whoa, not me. I come from the poorest of the poor neighborhoods. I am the least of my father's house. You have got the wrong guy. And the angel says, nope, I got the right one. Because God sees your wholeness. That's the wisdom of the whole. God sees you capable. God sees you as a champion. God sees you as that great expression of life where Gideon's going, whoa, I'm not strong. God sees him as strong. He says, hey, I am not fearless. God sees him as courageous. And this is how the Spirit sees you in the same way as a fearless, courageous, mighty person of valor. That is the wisdom of the whole that says, yes, yes to you. Yes to what is inside of you that you are yet to do, that is there to push you and says you are capable. It does not matter what has happened in your life thus far. There is something more for you to do. That's the wisdom of the whole. It doesn't buy into your story, so what you need to do is upraise that level of self-image. Whoops, I pulled this out. That one. There we go. I'm back on. Okay, so where was I? Yeah, upraise your self-image. And you know how you can do that? Here's a real valuable piece from this morning's message. Very simple. Okay? So those of you writing it down, I'm going to give it a good one to you. Okay. It's really simple. To upraise your self-image, agree with God. Isn't that an easy one? Why don't you just see yourself as Spirit sees you? Why don't you just agree with that power that created the heavens, the earth, the galaxies, the universe, and all that we can conceive? Pretty smart character here. Today we're calling that Father, Mother, God. Just agree with that divine inheritance that you have been given. And so when you're looking at something and you're feeling weak, focus on your God. Put your focus on your God, not on the weakness, not on the mountain, not on the challenge, not on that I can't do it, or let me give you my life story, why I'm not capable of doing it, or what has happened to me in the past. Focus in on your God. Whatever it is, because that God present sees you as capable, courageous, a champion. See, that's the wisdom of the whole here. God that sees the whole picture and understands even that which you don't get. You may be challenged in a moment, but Spirit understands how it is moving you through to something greater. I can remember my first year in Little League. I may have shared with you, I was not the power hitter. I was probably just a little older than Trevor, not even 8 years old yet. And when I was a little kid playing Little League, they didn't have T-ball. So you had to learn by getting into the batter's box. I don't even think they had like farm league, minor league, and big leagues. I was this little 8-year-old facing the 12-year-olds, and these guys were monsters. They were giants. They threw heat at my little body. And I remember my first year, I would get up into the batter's box, and I'm sure the only reason I played is because there was a rule that every kid had to play. And they said, oh man, just there goes Christian. And I would stand there just shaking. I was quivering with all my being. I held that bat that was bigger than I am, and I was just terrified. My first year, literally, I don't think I ever swung at a pitch, which was probably a good thing because kids that age couldn't throw strikes anyway, and so it worked for me. I want you to know, my dad, after a game, never came up to me and said, son, why didn't you swing? Swing at something. Never. He would take out a dime and buy me a snow cone at the snack stand behind home plate. And he would say, man, you stood in there great, Christian. The way you held that bat was so good. The way you looked down at that pitcher, you had such a glare in your eyes. He saw me only as a father could see his son. As I was filled with this fear and this horror, he saw the good moves his kid was making. Well, I want you to know that Heavenly Father, Mother, God sees the good moves you are making, even if it feels like sometimes you're not making them. Even if it feels like you are terrorized. That Spirit sees those little good things, even if you're not swinging just the way you're holding. Could be why I love this story called He's Just a Little Boy. I don't know who the author is. I've read it many different places. It always touches me. It says, He stands at the plate with his heart throbbing fast. The bases are loaded, the die has been cast. Mom and Dad cannot help him. He stands all alone. A hit at this moment would send the team home. The ball meets the plate. He swings and he misses. There's a groan from the crowd with boos and some hisses. A thoughtless voice cries, "Strike out the bum!" Tears fill his eyes. The game's no longer fun. So open your heart and give him a break, for it's a moment like this that a man you can make. Please keep this in mind when you hear someone forget. He's just a little boy and not a man quite yet. Gosh, let's let our kids be kids, you know? On this Father's Day, I just remember the joys of my childhood, you know? Henry Wadsworth Longfellow wrote, he said that a torn jacket is soon mended, but a hard word bruises the heart of a child. And let us be careful. You know, let us be careful with what it is we say to our children. But also let us be careful with what it is we say to ourselves. You know, because there's a power that moves through you. And if you could just reside in the simple fact when you're thinking you're not enough, or you're not good enough, or you've got some guilt going on, you know, that intrinsic value that you were born with. If you could just reside in the simple fact that you came from God. That's what you came from. That is what you are of. There's a spirit and there's nothing else. The fact is that you come from this presence, you come from this life force, you come from this love. That is the truth of you. And so when you're feeling not good about yourself, or you're feeling yourself down, or you're criticizing, and you're putting this heavy stuff, and you're not feeling good about who you are, maybe what it is you're doing, you'd like to be something else, remember that it is Spirit that has made you and that you are good enough. That you are good enough with who you are, with your unique expression in life. You don't have to be something you're not. It is about being who you are. That is the wisdom of the whole, is that you're an integral piece of the tapestry, of the whole picture. You don't have to be that which you're not. You don't have to win Father's approval. You have already got God's. I remember in high school, you know, I wasn't going to be the star on the baseball team. That was not my sport. I played tennis in high school. Not quite as popular as baseball and football, but tennis was my thing. You know, I didn't go off on the weekends with the guys to the deserts to ride motorcycles. I went to the beach and surfed, you know. That is who I am. And as much as I maybe had wanted to be this is who I am. And as you begin to embrace who you are, as you begin to love who you are, as you begin to love those God-given attributes of your being, you're able to walk through this world with a resonance, with a vibrational level that continues to attract good into your life, into your world. You know, science, the medical world, is proving how the body responds, that when there is a sense or a feeling, the brain secretes or releases chemicals that actually touch all 52 million cells of your body. And so if you're feeling bad, what's going through your physical body is not good stuff, toxic chemicals. And if you're feeling good about who you are and what it is you're doing, what's going through your body is creating more of that. And so when you partake of some food, what do you think? Oh man, this is good, or oh, this is evil. You know, when you get yourself a hot fudge sundae and you're ready to take that first bite, and you dip in that hot fudge and whipped cream and nuts, you say, oh, this is not good. What message are you telling 52 million cells in your body? So if you're going to do it, you got to say, oh, man, this is good. You know, anything that tastes as good has got to be good for me. It's God ordained. And the body responds. Yeah. You know, the body responds to that. It is the consciousness in which you partake of life. That's the way it is. See, freedom comes when you begin to find the freedom in God. What happens is people try to find freedom from the pain, freedom from the temptations, freedom from the lack, freedom from the health conditions. Where we will find our freedom is we will find our freedom in God. We will find our freedom in the presence. We will find our freedom in the truth of who we are. We will find our freedom when we begin to merge back into the spiritual presence that is the truth of who we are and what it is we are. And so let us not focus in on the weaknesses of our being. Let us focus in on God and trust that what is going on, there's a wisdom of the whole, one that understands the full picture. The whole deductive image, as Ernest Holmes talks about. We think inductively, from the part to the whole. Spirit deductively, it sees the whole thing. There's a wisdom from the whole. I may not understand the moment why this situation is going on, but if I'm not focusing in on the weakness, but rather I'm focusing in on my God, on that presence, that which created all, that from which I came, that what is going on here is good for me, then I'm able to move through it and not question it. I can remember when I wasn't quite 16 because I wasn't driving yet. But I had my learner's permit, and I remember that because I needed to drive. It was probably a Sunday because we were out playing football. My dad was out playing with all the guys, and he had been working all week co-starring in an episode of Charlie's Angels. He was like this diamond merchant. And he was playing on Sunday outside with the boys, and he sprained his ankle playing football, and it blew up to the size of like a watermelon. He could not put his foot down, which meant he could not drive himself to work the next day. And so this was the time in which I got to step up and move from being a kid to helping my dad, to helping out the household, taking my dad to the studio, driving him, chauffeuring, feeling good about myself. That was my initiation from just being the kid, being taken care of in the house, to helping out. In addition to that, I got to see Jacqueline Smith run around in a towel. Not that that is as memorable to me as my stepping into my manhood. But Spirit has something else in store. When we're able to let go of the way I think it was supposed to be and open up to the way Spirit has. Rumi says it this way. He said that there's a breeze at dawn that has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. There's a secret at dawn there's a breeze at dawn that has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. Open up to the wisdom that is there. Even if you don't get it, it doesn't matter who you are, what age you are, whether you're a little one growing up looking at dad or the great grandpa. There is still a presence, that Heavenly Father that is there assisting, that has for you, that there's something inside of you that says, that there's a sense that there's still something for you to do. You know that sense I'm talking about? As good as life is, there's a sense. There's still something for you to do. And that is what that Father energy is about, is saying, you can do it. You're a champion. You're capable. I see you. You mighty individual of valor and fearless courage. You can do that. Doesn't matter your age. There's a story of a family, Eastern European refugees in the wartime, and the soldiers were beginning to attack their village, and the family knew that the only way they were to survive was to go over the pass and the mountains into the country next door, the neutral country where their safety would be. And so the son called the family around, and there were about 10 into 10, from the youngest 1-year-old to the grandpa, and he said to his dad, who's the grandpa, he said, we all have to go. Our safety lies in going. And Dad said, I can't do it. I am just too old. My hiking days are gone. I cannot climb over that mountain pass. And he said, but Dad, you must. And he said, no, I can't. They're not going to take an old man. He said, Dad, if you stay here, it was surely your grave. And then his daughter said, hey, Grandpa, come on, you got to come with us. If you don't go, none of us are going. And so Gramps, in terms of caring for his family and wanting his family to be safe, agreed to go. And so all 10 of them that night took off, and they hiked into the night, and they took the 1-year-old baby, and they each took turns carrying the little baby, and they made it into the night, early into the next morning, up towards the top of the passes, and Gramps finally just sat down. Dad sat down and said, I just can't do it. I'm exhausted. My body has reached the end. Go on, leave me here. And they said, we can't. He said, you've got to go. He said, we can't leave you here. We need you. It's now your turn to carry the baby. When he looked out at the 13-year-old grandchild holding the 1-year-old just thin and exhausted, he said, okay. And he took that baby in his arms and looked at that 1-year-old's eyes, and something happened. You know, there was a strength. There was a renewed something that came back to his soul and his spirit that he had forgotten. See, that's the wisdom of the whole. That is the wisdom of spirit that is moving in you, that can rejuvenate, revitalize, re-energize you no matter what the weakness is, no matter what the challenge is, no matter what guilt or how you feel about yourself. There's something that still sees you as a champion and knows how to breathe that life back into you and said, yes, you can do that. But you've got to be willing to relax into it. There are a couple kids, I saw this comic. A couple kids, young kids, lying under a tree in the summer, chewing on the straw, hands behind their head, looking up at the sky, blue sky. And one of the little boys says to the other one, says, I can't wait to grow up so we can do anything we want and not have any worries. I can't wait until we return to that point where we're able to trust that wisdom and know that there is nothing to worry about, that it is in God's hands, and that divine expression of spirit, which is expressing itself as you, as me, is moving here and now through you, and that I do not need to pray to God because I have these worries to fix or to heal anything. It is not about praying to God to get me out of the limitation, to get me out of the lack, to get me out of the struggle, to get me out of the physical challenges that are in my body, but rather it is up to me to open up to that flow of true I truly am, to open up to my divine inheritance, to open up to be that expression of the God presence that is materializing itself in this world as me. I do not need to pray for this to be fixed, but rather I need to open up to that which I am. And as I open up to that which I am, everything in my world lines up and everything is healed in my life. There is nothing that God cannot do. There is no place where God is not, which means right in the midst of my pain and my weakness and my self-doubt, there is that presence that says, you are a champion. You are my child in which I am well pleased. You are a mighty individual of valor and courage. Yes. So the secret here is to know that where the Spirit is, there is the perfect health. Where the Spirit of God is, there is the wholeness of your being. See, the secret is to be able to experience that presence. Where the Spirit of God is the abundance. Where the Spirit of God is the wholeness. Where the Spirit of God is the divine understanding within relationship, within your home, within the family dynamics. And so our responsibility comes to know that in the wholeness, that presence is everywhere. It has all been given. I don't have to create it. I don't have to make it. What I must do is open up to know that the Spirit of the Lord is upon me, and with that comes the love and the gratitude. I get there by gratitude. I get there by love. I get there by caring. I get there by seeing as God sees. I get there by agreeing with that which has been with me from the very beginning. And so on this Father's Day, if we can just find something to be grateful for, whoever that Father essence is, may not be the one who begot you, as Exodus said, but the one who inspired you. I was blessed, and I was in a home where it was one and the same. And so, Dad, I was off traveling yesterday, Seattle, doing our campus's graduation up there. I didn't get a chance to write your Father's Day card. So I'll tell you what I'm going to put in there. How's that? I'm just so grateful. And I thank you for teaching me or praying with me every night to put me to bed. It's something I've passed on to Trevor, our son. And then in the morning to wake up when it was still dark and make bacon and eggs every morning before I ever got out of bed and start my day with that. One of my first memories of school was the first day of kindergarten when you took me in the fog, and I still remember holding your hand as you took me in and introduced me to Mrs. Iwazaka. I'm not going to spell that one for you. Thank you for going to all my Little League games and sitting through them all and never saying, why didn't you swing? Thank you, Dad, for loving my mom with all your heart and soul and spirit. being an example of a beautiful relationship. Thank you, Dad, for picking me up at the airport when I moved back from Hawaii alone, nothing in my hands. Thank you for helping me buy my first car and my second. For bringing me down here and when I first started at Seaside, for finding the apartment, for paying the first month's rent and the security deposit because the church sure didn't have enough money to pay me. And thank you for just teaching me to be generous, that men do cry. Thank you for being a wonderful grandpa to Trevor, a wonderful hero to me, my friend, my dad. I love you, Dad. Happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all you dads that are out there. So I'd like to invite the ushers to come forward as we do take our gift from our heart. Again, with a lot of heart and soul and passion. Divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am prosperous now. Hey, I trust you enjoyed that podcast. It was very exciting to be able to create that and to know that there are people like you all around the world that are observing and integrating these spiritual principles into their life. And so if you enjoyed it, what I'd like to do is encourage you to tell a friend or bring several friends together and watch another one of these podcasts. And then afterwards, take some time to talk about the spiritual principles, to talk about the stories and what significance they have and relevance they have in your life. What then happens is it moves to a deeper and deeper level in your world. It becomes real and assists you to create the freedom in your life that your heart and soul so desire. So if you like this, I encourage you to watch it again, but also tune into our website here at seasidecenter.org. There, you can get some of my written material and take a look at it. You can read some of my spiritual prayers. You can even go to our online bookstore and order some of the books. And if you're so moved, what I greatly would appreciate is your financial support, which you could do online at seasidecenter.org. It is support like yours that assists us to be able to continue to do these kinds of gifts for humanity and send it out to the world. Because you know what? We are making a difference with this spiritual message. And because of support like yours, people are being touched in the farthest reaches of this planet, as well as our backyard, more than we could ever begin to realize. So I thank you from the fullness of my heart for making a difference.